Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome once again to another Shabbat night talk. My name is Uziel Lewy, one of the teachers at Congregation BINAH CHOKMAH BINAH. And I welcome you once again to another Shabbat night talk, hoping and praying that the King of the universe, Yehovah, that he will continue to bless each and every one of us, continue to be with us, guide us, and protect us. Continue to be with Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. And I pray and hope that the Most High God will continue to be with us all. Torah YAH for all things and everything. I'm thankful to this great King for my life, the life of each and every one of you, Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. And I'm thankful that the Creator is with us all, Yisrael. Give me a second here. I gotta change up something real quick. Give me 1 second here. So the video is going to pause for a second. Then it's going to come back in. So give me 1 second here. Let me make sure. Let me see here. Give me 1 second here. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome everybody once again to Shabbat Night Talk. My name is Chief Uziel Lewy. Seems like I have there's like a major delay here. I don't even know what's causing this delay, but I have a major delay here, so can everybody hear me clearly out there? Is the delay so bad to where I just need to restart it? Is the delay real bad, and do I just need to restart it? Let me type it in. Is the delay really that I need to restart stream? So if you can hear me out there, please give me a 1. All right. I'm going to try to restart it. Give me a break here. Give me a chance. All right. Let me redo this. Shalom, 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 everyone, and welcome once again. Welcome once again to Shabbat Night Talk. I hope that this time that it's a little bit better. It's not as delayed. It's really just time for me to get a newer, faster computer. All right. So let me know now if everything is good. Give me a 1 if everything is good, if all is flowing right. Please let me know if everything is flowing right. It's okay. Is it better than before? Is it good? Is it better? Talk to me. Is the audio good? Just let me know. Give me a 1. Just refresh your computers. Let me know. Let me know how everything is coming on. Still a delay, but we could deal with it. All right. One. Good. All right. That's great. How's everyone feeling tonight? Torah YAH for life. Food, clothing, and shelter. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I'm thankful to this great King for my life. The life of Yisrael scattered in the four corners of the earth. The life of all of you. And I'm thankful to this great and mighty King for food, clothing, and shelter, and all the things that he provides for us, even in these the lands of our captivity. We're thankful to this great King for everything and all things. Hallelujah. I'm grateful, and I'm thankful to Yahweh for my life and the life of all of you. And we can't thank him enough for the goodness that he does for us in our lives. We can't thank him enough for the understanding and wisdom that he gives us. And we are thankful to this great King for just being there for us, giving us some understanding and wisdom. And sometimes we don't know how to be grateful before this great King. And those are things that we have to learn. So once again, thanking all of you for joining us tonight. I'm thankful to the Most High God for all of you for making this stream and making this, I guess this would be considered a podcast, but thankful for y'all making us who we are and being with us for so many years. If you was with us from the days of when we used to do Yahoo, we used to do like a Yahoo type of conference room. Then we used to do Skype. Then we used to do Pal Talk. Who remembers that? Pal Talk. If you was with us from them days, from Pal Talk. Then we went into Ustream and then YouTube. This is over 10 years of streaming that me personally I've been doing in this type of forum on Shabbat Night Talk. So this is a dedication. This is something that the volume is low. I thought the volume looks fine on this end. Let me see. In fact, I'm going in the red. I don't know how much more. Gonna raise the volume. Yeah, you might have to raise the volume on your end, because I think the volume is fine here. If anybody else is having volume problems, please let me know. Bring Pal Talk back. I wouldn't even know how to log into Pal Talk anymore. But Pal Talk is, and now we here with YouTube. We've been doing YouTube for quite a while. Been on this YouTube ride for quite a while. And I remember when there was there was a website called the I believe it was like the Israelite Network, where the brother used to play a lot of music, right? And he used to stream some teachings and things of that manner. He was actually like the first one that was online putting this stuff out on our end, on the non-messianic. And I kind of was inspired by that. That kind of inspired the Israelite something network. The Israelite something network. And I was kind of inspired by that, and I was like, you know what? We need to, step up to this age. And that brother was an inspiration. I forgot the brother's name. And we then we began to just progress little by little till we got to the point that we are here. So I'm thankful that we're able to do this. And as you can see now, Tavel said he remember every stage. That's right. Every stage of it. So it's been, I'm sure that it's been over 10 years as I can remember. And Torah YAH, that we've survived the test of time, that he's put it within me to survive the test of time, because many people have come and gone. But Torah YAH, that he gave me the perseverance to be here. And I love my job, and I love doing this. Sometimes I'm tired and I can't make an appearance, but I think y'all understand that about me. That Torah, all right, sound is straight. Yeah, so I guess y'all understand that about me, that I love doing what I do. When I'm tired, I take a break. So yes, the weather here has been brutal the last couple of days. We've been having temperatures in the single digits, but we can't complain, because I know brothers and sisters that are in Michigan and Chicago, Wisconsin, Minnesota, that y'all had it much worse. I seen it go down to 0 degrees, but the good thing is we here, or at least with the spots where I was in, I didn't really get the wind chill. So I could kind of deal with the cold as long as there is no wind chill. But once you have that wind chill factor, or what they say, that real feel, then you playing into a whole different ball game. So Torah YAH, that I haven't heard that no Israelite was affected negatively, meaning like no one had to go to the hospital or anything because of hypothermia or anything like that, or because, they didn't have any heat. So hopefully this is the last of it and we good. How do you pronounce those Hebrew letters on the D.C.B. logo? It's basically saying the same thing that is saying in the transliteration. So right at the top, You see the dalet, the iron, and the tau for da'at. And because you go from right to left with Hebrew, right in the middle on the side, it says chok. To make sure I'm at the right spot. No, I'm where it says BINAH. All right, so right at the bottom. So we got da'at at the top. Right at the bottom, we have, right after CHOKMAH, we got CHOKMAH. Right, so you got Chet, Chaf, Mem, Hey is upside down. That's why it's taking me a little bit of time to figure it out. And then right on the side, we got BINAH. So BINAH is Veit, Yod, Nun, and Hey. So that's and Beit, we are the house of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Beit Da'at CHOKMAH BINAH, right? But the logo only has Da'at CHOKMAH BINAH, D.C.B, right? And what the logo stands for is, if you look at the inside of the logo, right, we see the if you're looking at the logo right, approximately, well, which side would it be on? Guess it'll be on this side of me. Which side? Make sure. No, this side of me. Remember, everything is in reverse, so the logo right up here. I gotta go this way, I guess. This is funny. So the logo right up here. So if you see the Torah, you see the Torah right on the inside of the logo. That's life. You know, Torah is life, right? And Torah is how we help to govern ourselves. And you see the Kai. You see the symbol of the Kai. Remember, it is a green screen, so I got to try to figure it out. So you see the symbol of the Kai right up there. We see the symbol of the Kai right in there in gold, right? That's a Chet and a Yod. A Chet and a Yod, right, together. That together, those two letters in the Hebrew alphabet, they spell out the word life, right? Life. So if we see the Torah on the inside with the 10 words, Torah is life, right? Torah is life. So that's the meaning of our logo. And this is the house of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So that's what's going on with that. And that's what, and in the when you see the Torah on the inside, that's the ancient script. All right, that's the ancient script on the inside. What you see on the around it is what is called the modern script. All right, so I hope that was of some help to you guys. And if I was wrong, right, YRBN Radio. There you go, Imokasquia, that's right. Minus 55 degrees. Goodness gracious. Chi-Town is Chicago, Chi-Town. That's a nickname for Chicago, Chi-Town. So I hope that was of some help for you. I don't know if that's what you were looking for. That was the understanding of what you were looking for, but that's what those things signify. And I always got my resident Morim in the building, More Tavel and Moradina, and they could correct anything that I said that was wrong in my breakdown of the Hebrew. But I think I did a good job on it. But they'll be able to confirm and say whether or not I did a good job. So I heard that in the state of Texas, I was reading an article, and in the state of Texas, we had Catholic Church in Texas names, this is a New York Times article. Catholic Church in Texas names nearly 300 priests accused of sex abuse. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And why is it interesting? Well, and let me share the article with you guys. Right there, we got it. As you can see, Catholic Church in Texas names nearly 300 priests accused of sex abuse. Roman Catholic leaders in Texas on Thursday identified nearly 300 clergy members accused of sexually abusing children. Cardinal Daniel DiNardo of the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, pictured said the names were released because it is right and just to offer healing and hope to those who have suffered. And I agree with that the names should be released so that people can have closure and people know exactly who are the predators. Just like when you have sexual predators in communities and those names are released to the public, and when those guys come out of jail, they have to register in a sexual offender registry, so that people in that neighborhood that they move into will be able to know who are the sexual predators and who to keep their children away from. The problem with the Catholic Church is that for many years they've been hiding these predators, and they've allowed them to, they move them from place to place, sometimes from country to country, and I've allowed them to continue in the vile behavior that puts children in danger and cause children to grow up with problems, mental issues, and certain types of mood swings and so forth and so on. So it says here, this article came out yesterday, January 31st, 2019. The Roman Catholic Church in Texas on Thursday released the names of almost 300 priests who it said had been credibly accused of child sex abuse over nearly 8 decades. So credibly accused, meaning that they know for a fact that these priests, these 300 priests, have abused children. This is only in Texas now. This is not anywhere else. Now it says this abuse is ran over nearly 8 decades. That 8 decades mean that's 80 years. So they've had records of priests abusing children since, so 80 years back is what? The 1930s? What is it? I could be wrong. 1930s? Yeah, 1930s. Something like that. Since the 1930s. So they've had records of children being abused, right? It says the action was the latest in a wave of disclosures by the church as it faces a series of federal and state investigations into its handling of sexual misconduct. So I'm sure there's much more of these predators that have molested children, that have put children in danger, that have lost the faith of parents who have sent their children to church to be altar boys, because usually that's who get it, the altar boys, and if your child goes to a Catholic school, you know, these are usually the ones the children who get molested. The names were posted online by all 15 of the state's dioceses and followed the publication in August of a bombshell report on clerical sex abuse by the Pennsylvania Attorney General that has spurred investigations of the church in more than a dozen other states. Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, the Archbishop of Galveston, Houston, and the president of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, said in a statement on Thursday that releasing the names of the accused was the right thing to do. Absolutely, it was the right thing to do. They needed to release it. People need to know who these predators are. The bishops of Texas have decided to release the names of these priests at this time because it is right and just, and to offer healing hope to those who have suffered. Now, some people will never recover from sexual abuse, but it is good for the people who committed the crime for their names to be put out there so that people will know, and so that at least the person who's been abused doesn't have to live with the shame, right? Or doesn't have to live thinking that they have to hide something to protect somebody who's hurt them. This is part of healing, right? The cardinal said, on behalf of all who have failed in this regard, I offer my sincere apology. Let me read that over. On behalf of all who have failed in this regard, I offer my sincere apologies. Our church has been lacerated by this wound, and we must take action to heal it. There are an estimated 8.5 million Catholics in Texas, according to the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops, making it one of the most heavily Catholic states in the country. The church there has been in a state of crisis since dozens of local and federal agents raided the offices of the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston in November as part of an investigation into a sexual abuse case. So 8.5 million, and the reason why there's 8.5 million Catholics in Texas is because Texas is heavily populated by a lot of Mexican immigrants or Mexican or people that been from that families come from Mexico from generation to generation. Remember, Texas also was a part of Mexico. It was owned by Mexico, so there've been basically Native Americans, which the Aztec and the whatever lineage you come from any of these tribes, they are quote unquote Native Americans. You know, the Aztecs. Remember, the Americas is North America, Central America, and South America. So, and they were colonized by the Spaniards, right? Mexico, and they were made Catholics. So that's why you got 8.5 million Catholics in Texas, making it one of the most heavily Catholic states in the country. I read that already. Since the release of the Pennsylvania report, which details 7 decades of alleged abuse by over 300 priests there, dozens of I know how to pronounce this word sometimes, and then sometimes I forget. Dioceses and religious provinces across the country have published the names of alleged abusers. More than a dozen states have also opened investigations into the church, although Texas is not among them. On Thursday, Mark Rylander, a spokesman for Texas attorney. So the Archdiocese released the 300 name of the priests that have abused children in the last 8 decades, but Texas has not opened an investigation against the church, into the church. So that's where the problem lies, because what happens is the church hides under a mantle or under a cover of being a holy place. So a lot of times prosecutors don't want to go in there and prosecute the wrong that these people are doing, right? And that's where a lot of things come go awry, or it seems like they're hiding something or they covering up something. On Thursday, Mark Rylander, a spokesman for Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, said his office was prepared to respond to any request for assistance by local and federal law enforcement agencies. We have not received any such requests, but we are ready to provide assistance to local prosecutors in accordance with state law and original criminal jurisdiction. Mr. Rylander said in an email, "No young person shall ever live in fear of abuse, especially abuse from religious and spiritual leaders." The lists published on Thursday were prepared separately by each diocese, and each one takes a slightly different form. Many of the names dated to the middle of the 20th century. Some dioceses began their review at 1940 and others at 1950. So they knew these issues have been going on all the way back then. And many, but not all, of the clerics listed have died. Some have resulted in prosecution. Some lists contain limited detail about alleged abuse, but many consist of little more than the names of clergymen and scant biographical information. The lists focus primarily on alleged abuse of minors, although some contain references to allegations of sexual harassment or abuse of adults. Advocates for abuse survivors said they were disappointed by those shortcomings. Paul Peterson, a spokesman in Dallas for the Survivors Network of those abused by priests, said the overall lack of detailed information pointed to the need for state and federal law enforcement agencies to investigate the history of clerical sex abuse in Texas. All of this is the fox guarding the hen house, he said. Most of this has not been corroborated by the police department, so you have to scratch your head and say, where is the actual transparency? Mr. Peterson also said he thought it was probable that there were more than 300 priests who had committed sexual abuse in Texas since 1950. He pointed to a report in December by the Illinois Attorney General that said the Catholic Church there had withheld the names of at least 500 priests accused of sexually abusing minors. There are 3.4 million Catholics in Illinois, according to Catholic Conference of Illinois, or less than half as many as in Texas. I'm skeptical, he said. I'm not trying to make it bigger than it is, but I think the number 300 is crazy low. Wow. So this article it's a New York Times article. It was written by Liam Stack on January 31st, 2019. So now, you know, when we hear of situations like these, right, and we see that people so I see some of the kind. And yes, they're losing members, and it's been a cover-up for years. But I think the problem lies in this, right? And I was doing some research on this, and the Catholic Church, and not all Christian churches do this, but they do have this rule to where priests cannot be married, right? The priest cannot be married. A priest cannot be married. And I think this is where it goes wrong. I think there's a mixture of a couple of things, right? Now, this is my theory. I could be wrong, but the Most High God doesn't tell his priests that they cannot be married. There is certain stipulations that the priests, the sons of Aaron, had in order to take wives, right? And who they had to marry. But the Most High God never told the priest that he could not marry, right? Also, the Most High God, when we think about a Nazirite, and when someone takes a Naziriteship, right, or the Nazirite vow, there was never a stipulation to the Nazirite that he could not have, at least I don't think so, that he could not have sexual contact with his wife. So when we see that there's a religion that tries to go above and beyond what the Most High God has said, then we begin to see situations like this begin to happen and begin to definitely go contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of the creator of heaven and earth. So this is what we see, and this is what begins to happen, because you add to the word of the Most High, and you diminish from it, and this is what starts to happen. God never told men that they're not supposed to marry. In fact, it tells us at the beginning, it says, not good that man should be alone. When God saw that he created man, he said, so out of the man, he created a woman. He said he took a rib out of the man, and from out of the rib of the man, he created a woman. And she was called, and he said, bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Right? He said, and a man shall leave his father and his mother's house and cleave unto his wife, and they shall become one. So there was never meant for man to be alone. It was never meant for man not to have a woman. That's the first thing that the Most High God created for man, a woman. So when we have laws, and I have this thing here, clerical celibacy, as you can see, I'm reading it from, well, let me take you there first so you can see it. Just see y'all, what y'all doing. And this is the funny thing. Yes, nuns cannot marry also, but what ends up happening in a lot of monasteries is that, and I remember that there was a case that in a monastery, and the monastery is where the nuns are, and then sometimes they do have contacts with priests or with men of the cloth, quote unquote men of the cloth, right? And what was happening is that they began to find a lot of dead babies behind the walls, because the nuns began to get pregnant, right, by the priests, because the natural course of man and woman is that if you got man and woman and they're around each other, they're going to begin to like each other. And what's going to happen is that you're going to do things that men and women do. But because they have these silly rules and these silly things that they put forward, then what ends up happening is that you begin to break your own rules and regulations. Although it's not contrary to the laws of God that a man and a woman get together, and there's a way to do that, but a man and a woman get together, but because you trying to live on something that God did not tell us to do, then now you go against your own man-made rules that you've set, and you begin to do this. And there's also my thought and my idea that I think that there were a lot of, I think in those days that there were a lot of, and maybe today, but more so in those days, because the gay lifestyle wasn't as open as it is today, right? And I believe that a lot of gay men went into the Archdiocese. They went into to be priests in order to fight whatever urge it was that they had, right? Because back then it was a lot more frowned upon by society than it is today to be homosexual. So a lot of these men were living in the closet. So a lot of them went went as priests, went and hid under the cloth of priest. This is my belief, and I could be wrong, but went and hid under the cloth of priest, but those urges were still there, and they took advantage of the children that were vulnerable in those times, right? Because they were trying to hide it from other people, and they went in with fooling people and making people believe that they were holy and they were men of the cloth, and they were actually married to Christ, right? And I believe that in reality what happened is that they went in there and molested a bunch of children. Now, that's my my opinion on that. And that's the perspective that I take, that I see it, right? Because it's ironic that in this religion now, every way of life, you got homosexuals, even in this way of life. Believe you me, if we didn't have them, then the law wouldn't be there. But we have them, and we had them, right? So that's part of it. And when we see it, and when we understand it, we're supposed to eradicate it. That's why there are laws that go against that go against that sort of that style of living and that understanding. Listen, we don't have to accept that lifestyle. You understand what I'm saying? I understand that today we live in a society where when we go to work, we work with many of these people. There's a lot of things that you got to do, and you don't want to lose your job. But in everything, I tell everybody this, in everything that you do, use wisdom, right? We don't have to accept a lifestyle that that the Most High God tell us that we shouldn't live. He said, and they don't talk as much about some of the nun being guy also. Well, yeah, that could be a possibility. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and, you know, I believe that a lot of people back then, they went into the monastery to hide the fact. Yeah, because some of them nuns are kind of like tough and kind of like, you know, you understand what I'm saying. And they come across as being rough, you know. So yeah, but that's my observation and what I think happened a lot back then, where people were trying to hide from what they were, and what happened is, in trying to hide from what they were, that they ended up doing a lot of damage to a lot of young children. A lot of young children were affected by what was happening and their perverseness and the things that they were doing, because it's definitely perverse. It's definitely something that's not condoned by the Creator, and it's something that the Most High God told us not to indulge in. So I want to go to the book of Leviticus 21 real quickly. See if y'all see it. Got it right here, Leviticus 21. It says, and Yahweh said unto Moses, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, there shall none defile himself for the dead among his people. Wayomer Yahweh el Moshe, Emor el Akohanim b'nei Aharon, we amarta aleihim, lenefesh lo yitama be'amai. Right? So don't make yourself, so speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, they shall none defile himself for the dead among his people. So basically, priests can't be you can't work in a funeral home. Basically, because they're always before the Most High God, doing a service before the Most High God. So hey, listen, stay clear from this, because you always got to be present before God, doing offerings, doing sacrifices, and you can't afford to be unclean by the dead, right? Number 2, except for his kin that is near unto him, for his mother, for his father, for his son, for his daughter, and for his brother. So there's an exception as to who the priest, the sons of Aaron, could get unclean for. It has to be near kin. Mother, father, son, daughter, for his brother. Right? And for his sister, a virgin that is near unto him, that have no husband, for her he may be defiled. For the sister that is a virgin. Now, a sister that was married, she got a family, they could take care of her, they could bury her, right? But the sister that's a virgin, she's still living in the house. 9 times, 10 times out of 10, you could put her away. He shall not defile himself, being a chief man among his people, to profane himself. In other words, this is for the common folks. You can't defile yourself being a chief man, right? Said, Lo yitama ba'al be'amayo lehe kalo. So being a chief man, you can't defile yourself. So your best friend, you can't defile yourself for him. He might not be from the tribe of Levi. You can't defile yourself for him. Verse 5. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corners of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. So these are all regulations that are for the priests. They shall be holy unto their God, and not profane the name of their God. In other words, in the things that they do, they must walk in a perfect understanding with God. Now, this is what these Catholic priests try to do. And this is the way that they try to live. But in trying to do certain things, they add to the words of God, because we're going to get to the part where it talks about marriage. For the offerings of Yahweh made by fire, the bread of their God, they do offer, therefore they shall be holy. So, meaning their hands should be clean, when they come before God, right? Because they offer the bread of the living God. They shall not take a woman that is a harlot or profane, neither shall they take a woman put away from her husband, for he is holy unto his God. So they can't take a woman that is a harlot, a zonah, right? I'm sure that's what it is. Isha zonah wakhalayla lo yikwahu we isha gerusha me isha lo yikwahu ki kwadash no ki kwadosh hu le lohayo. So they shall not take a woman that is a harlot or profane. Take a woman put away from her husband. They can't even take a divorcee, a woman that was divorced, for he is holy unto his God. Thou shalt sanctify him, verse 8, thou shalt sanctify him therefore, for he offereth the bread of thy God. He shall be holy unto thee, for I, Yahweh, will sanctify you, am holy. So, most of the times the priests are taking virgins, right? They're taking virgins. These is the common priest and the high priest. They're taking virgins most of the times. Now it goes, and the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the harlot, she profaneth her father, she shall be burned with fire. So it's not like the other daughter who's found in her father's house playing the harlot, right? She's stoned to death. The daughter of the priest, I guess she's put on a different level, and it says you just don't stone her. Say you burn her, right? Because you bringing an embarrassment to the family. Verse 10. And the priest that is highest among his brethren, upon whose head the anointing oil is poured, right? So this is the high priest. This is the Kohen Haggadah. And that is consecrated to put on the garments, shall not let the hair of his head go loose, nor rend his clothes, right? So he has a different set of rules for him than for the normal priest. This is Kohen Haggadah. This is Aaron himself says, Weha Kohen Haggadah, right? The highest priest of them all. So the Kohen Haggadah, Me'ekayo Ashir Yuzak Al Rosho Shemen Hamishka Umile et Yado Lilbosh et Havgadim et Rosho Lo Yifra Uvgadai Lo Yifrom. So this guy right here, he can't let the head of his hair go loose, nor rend his clothes, because he has to keep a certain statute and a certain level. And you see in the Catholic Church, you see that the robes, the cardinal hats that they wear, the linen robes and things of this manner, they try to keep a certain splendor, keep themselves looking a certain way. They try to almost mimic what the high priest and the priest did, right? Neither shall he go into any dead body, nor defile himself to his fault for his father or for his mother. So the high priest can't even defile himself for anybody. Neither shall he go out to the sanctuary, nor profane the sanctuary for his God, for the consecration of the anointing oil of his God is upon him. I am Jehovah. So, and you might say, why can't he bury his father and mother? Remember, the high priest has to keep himself clean. Let's say his father and mother pass away on Yom Kippur, right? And the high priest is the one that has to go into the holies of holies, make the place smoke. He can't afford to be unclean. Get what I'm saying? He can't afford to be unclean. Even when his two sons got consumed by the fire, right? He wasn't allowed to go in there and do, pull out the bodies and do all that stuff. They had to send some cousins in there. And the Most High God told him, continue in the service and finish doing what you're supposed to do. So the high priest is on a different level, has to be on a different level, different understanding, has different duties, and has to carry them out exactly the way that the Most High God tells them to do it. Neither shall he go out of the sanctuary, nor profane the sanctuary of his God, for the consecration of the anointing oil of his God is upon him. I am Jehovah. And he shall take a wife in her virginity. This is the high priest. He don't have options. A widow or one divorced or a profane woman or a harlot, these shall he not take, but a virgin of his own people shall he take to wife. So he has to take a virgin of his own people. It can't be even a woman from another nation. And he shall not profane his seed among his people, for I am Jehovah who sanctify him. He can't profane his seed among his people. Why? Because his seed are going to continue in the lineage of the priesthood. So you don't want to marry any regular old woman from another nation coming back from war. You see a damsel that you like and you want to, no. Don't mix your seed with that. We don't need that. Leave that for the common man. You can't do that. They had a different set of rules, a different set of laws that they lived by. But never did it say that they could not marry. And this is the point that I'm trying to make, right? They had different set of rules, yes. They had to dress a certain way, yes. They had to carry things out a certain way. But when you get into Catholicism, and it's basically Catholicism, right? I'm not sure if there are other parts of Christianity that enforce this, but Catholicism enforces these rules and these regulations, and now is causing people to do perverted things, to do things that are way contrary to the laws of God. So now, right up here, clerical celibacy, Catholic Church. This on Wikipedia, but there's sources here. Clerical celibacy is the discipline within the Catholic Church by which only unmarried men are ordained to the episcopate, to the priesthood, right? That's the episcopate, to the priesthood. That's a rule to which exceptions are sometimes made for individuals. In some autonomous particular churches, and similarly to the diaconate, though in this last case exceptions exist only for single individuals, but for whole categories of people. In other autonomous particular churches, the discipline applies only to ordination to the episcopate. So autonomous churches, meaning churches that from what I understand, churches that operate under their own rules, right? Certain Catholic churches that don't operate under the Archdiocese. They consider themselves Catholic churches, but they don't follow exactly. They don't follow under I guess the banner of the Vatican. It has to be, Chief of the Catholic particular churches, that follow this discipline is the Latin Church, but among the Eastern Catholic churches, at least the Ethiopic Catholic Church applies it also. In this context, celibacy retains its original meaning of unmarried, though even the married may observe abstinence from sexual intercourse. The obligation to be celibate is seen as a consequence of the obligation to observe perfect and perpetual continence for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Advocates see clerical celibacy as a special gift of God by which sacred ministers can more easily remain close to Christ with an undivided heart and can dedicate themselves more freely to the service of God and their neighbor. So that's basically it. I don't need to go through the whole thing. So basically, what they're saying is that when you take these vows of celibacy or whatever, you're married to God. You ain't married to our God, because our God never commanded us to do anything like that. The Most High God tells us to marry. He has criteria for the priest, but never tells them not to marry. So those are things that we have to keep in mind and things that we have to understand. I seen I was talking to one of the elders, and he was telling me about the whole, the article. Oh, and by the way, I spoke to Samuel Castenbaum. We had a conversation with him. I'm gonna try to get him on the show to see. I ran it by him, but I don't think he was too he didn't say no, but I don't know if he was ready for that challenge. But I basically, what I spoke to him about was my disappointment with him, and that he wrote a whole expose about Israelites, right, and what had happened, and that he had my number. He had numbers from other brothers and sisters that he could have given a call to, and he could have gotten some quotes from us to show that we don't push or follow any of the not any, but some of the ideas that some of these brothers have. So I showed my disappointment, or I expressed my disappointment to him. He said that he apologized. He apologized vehemently, but he tried to my brother Samal Zakar spoke to him, and let him know what he felt about it, how he came across in the article, how he told him that most people don't read whole articles, so at the beginning when he didn't make a separation, that he expressed to him that most people just read beginning of articles, and once they hear Hebrew Israelites, so they hear Israelites, they automatically are going to associate us with them. So it was one of those type of things. Hopefully I could get him to come on the show, or I could get to interview him, since he's always interviewing people. So I want to interview him to see where his mind was at, and so that people could see his expression and see how he looks when he's on the other side of the interview. So so that's what happened with that. So speaking to the elder, he had a problem with the fact that they always, when they speak about Israelites on this side of the hemisphere, they always say they think that they're the children of Israel, or they claim that they're the children of Israel. Let me tell you something. I was reading about the Lemba tribe, right? Let me see if I can find that article. Lemba, South Africa. So this is what I want us to go in. Are y'all with me? I know sometimes all the Covington. I have to, maybe I did get it, but I have to open up the my messenger. I didn't get to see them yet, so I'm gonna go back and look at them and see what they're talking about in Covington and what they do. So, Toda Gaveret Basheba, I'll definitely take a look at it. But what I want to talk about is, this notion that, they think that they're the children of Israel, or they, like we act like we're something. It's the same thing they did with the Lemba years ago. The Lemba was saying that because somebody went down there, they basically seen how they were doing, that they would circumcise their children on the 8th day. Now, this is a tribe all the way in South Africa, right? And I had to go back and refresh myself. So in the north part of South Africa, and they had an oral story, an oral tradition as to how they got there. They story is that they went there after the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So now what the European tries to do is they try to compare themselves to them. Undoubtedly, I think, and this is my belief, that Israel was truly scattered to the four corners of the earth. And we're going to come back looking differently. This is my belief. I know that some of us sometimes get caught up with how we look, and, and it's the way that our teachers taught us. But I think that just me. Now, I could be wrong. Y'all could contest me on that and say, Chief Uzal, I think you're wrong because this, that, and the other. And hey, we all got our prerogative. But like I always say, if an Israelite marries a Caucasian woman, an Israelite man, and then he has children, and he has a son with that Caucasian woman, but that son begins to marries another Caucasian woman, right? And then he has a son, and then that son marries another Caucasian woman. What we think is Israelite, we just look at how we look, features, phenotypes or whatever. But I don't believe all Israelites are going to look the same, because when you go down there and you look at the Lemba, it's like we would look at them and say, oh, what we call, quote unquote, they look like Canaanites, right? Because they've been down there for over almost 2,000 years. They've been traveling all through Africa and all these places. I believe they've been in South Africa for over 1,000 years, right? So they have already adopted. They married into people, but when they found the Y chromosome in them, they show that they was from the line of the Kohanim. So these are the things that we have to keep in mind, right? So when they say that, and let me read a little bit of it. So that way, let me see here. Here we go. I like bringing y'all articles. This was by Nicholas Wade, May 9th, 1999. So this story is actually almost 20 years old. So the Lemba, a Bantu-speaking people of southern Africa, have a tradition that they were led out of Judea by a man named Buba. They practice circumcision, keep one day a week holy, and avoid eating pork or pig-like animals such as hippopotamus. I didn't even know that the hippopotamus was family to the pig, but that's another story for another day. Several groups around the world practice Judaic rites or claim to be descendant from biblical tribes without having any ancestral Jewish connection. And there is no Buba in the records of Jewish history, right? Because what they do is you see, European history as claiming this way of life, we're talking about way past the era of the Maccabees. It's coming way after that, right? So we talking a time when it wasn't even recognized for a European to be even considered a Hebrew or Israelite. Get my drift? So when it says that they adopted our way of life, definitely was, but I also believe that we migrated, after that, after we was taken to captivity in Assyria, the Assyrian captivity, a lot of the 10 tribes went up there, and we were dispersed and scattered, so that's why you got Persian, quote unquote, Persian Jews. You got Yemeni Jews. You got all these type of quote unquote Jews that have been keeping these traditions for years, right? And you even got people that call themselves quote unquote Jews in India. You get what I'm saying? So these are things that we cannot disregard. These are things that we cannot look past, that Israel is truly scattered to the four corners of the earth. It says here, but the remarkable thing about the Lemba tradition is that it may be exactly right. A team of geneticists has found that many Lemba men carry in their male chromosome a set of DNA sequences that is distinctive to the Kohanim. It says here, the Jewish priests believed to be the descendants of Aaron. The genetic signature of priests, hereditary caste, different from rabbis but with certain ritual roles, is particularly common among Lemba men who belong to the senior of their 12 groups known as the Buba clan. The discovery, so this man Buba, who they said led them out of Israel after the destruction of the second temple, right? He was a Kohen, or he was out of the family of the Kohanim. The discovery of the Lemba's Jewish ancestry has come about through the intertwining of two unusual strands of inquiry. One was developed by geneticists in the United States, Israel and England, who wondered what truth there might be to the Jewish tradition that priests are the descendants of Aaron, the elder brother of Moses. The other strand was provided by Dr. Tudor Parfit, director of the Center for Jewish Studies at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London. Dr. Parfit, who has done research among the Lemba for 10 years, says that he has discovered Senna. Lemba tradition maintains they came from the mysterious northern city and that he can retrace their steps from center to Africa maybe 1,000 years ago. So the reason why I go into all of that and why I feel compelled to talk about it, right? It's always easy Yes, I heard the interview with More Catrio, and I think that it was an excellent interview. I think he did well. I think that he gave a good representation of us, and may the Most High God bless him. I thought it was a great. He did great for being on Fox. You know, he held his own. I think with the, and I also read that thing with the Jews or whatever, and putting themselves in that whole thing. I think that, and this is just me, I believe that they matched their DNA up with bones that were excavated from certain parts, certain cities in Jerusalem, and I believe that the Jewish people, because there's another study that came out later that showed that they really had really no real connection. I gotta find that other article which was more recent, right? And I believe that they just trying to fit in certain parts, right? And I also, but like I said, you know, it's a difficult part for me and for us because of the way we were taught. You know, the way we were taught is that Israel looks one way. That's the way we were taught. We have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to understand that we were taught that Israel only looks one way, right? And if Israel comes back looking any other way, we question whether or not, and our teachers did that, I get it. Our teachers did that for a certain reason. They did that to give us a sense of self-confidence, for us to be strong, for us to identify with something. But I do believe that Israel is not just going to come back looking one way. That is my belief. I could be wrong. You guys could refute it, could say, Chief Uzal, you're wrong, but I'm talking about ancient Israel now. Versus Israel today. Ancient Israel definitely were people of color. Yes, I seen that. I seen the video of Maury Catrio early, so when people were sending it to me, I had already seen it, but told her anyway, my sister. So getting back to my point as to when they say they think they this, they think they that. We got a people that traveled all the way from Jerusalem all the way to South Africa, right? Now that's almost like 9,000 kilometers. It's a long distance. It's like it will take you like 150 something days to get to South Africa from Jerusalem. I think what I had here, I think that was on foot. Let me see. Let me look for it. Distance. from Jerusalem to South Africa. See what it tells me here. From Israel to South Africa in a car will take you 159 hours to drive via a car. 159 hours, and it would be 9,717.9 kilometers. I don't know what that is in miles because I don't know how to transform kilometers to miles, but it's 9,717 kilometers. So you round it off to 10,000, right? How many miles is 10,000 kilometers? $10,000 kilometers is equivalent to 6,213 miles and 0.712. So I think from New York to California is what? 4,000 miles? I don't know. 3,000 miles? Somebody tell me. So now, when we look at it in those terms, right? When we look at it in those terms, and we examine that from Jerusalem to West Africa is way less. From Israel to Nigeria is way less, and Israel was scattered to the four corners of the earth. Then it's not far-fetched that if the Lemba ended up all the way in South Africa, that we will be scattered all through the continent of Africa, all into West Africa and everywhere else. And that we ended up on the shores of West Africa, and that we were captured by people that knew we weren't their people and sold into captivity. And went into captivity into a strange land that our fathers knew not, to a people of fierce countenance, like the prophecy in Deuteronomy chapter 28 says. So my point to make is this, and then when we look at King Ahab marrying Jezebel, which was a Zidonian or Canaanite people. When we look at Judah and Tamar, right? And she was a Canaanite, right? And she had children for him. And she was a Canaanite. We married into the people God told us not to marry, and we had children with them. Joseph married an Egyptian woman and had Manasseh and Ephraim. Egypt is in Africa, and ancient Egyptian were people, black people. They Hamitic people. They're from Ham. So it's harder to find a European in the Tanakh than it is to find people of color. People of color were there. We were people of Israel. The children of Israel are people of color, the ancient Israelites, right? And just like Moses, mistaken as an Egyptian, he had to be a man of color because ancient Egyptians were black people. Like I said, you don't begin to see images of Caucasian people being rulers in Egypt until the New Kingdom. And if you go into the Metropolitan Museum of Art, right? Metropolitan Museum, I think is the Metropolitan Museum of Art. down in Manhattan, you will see that. You got the old kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the new kingdom. The old kingdom and the middle kingdom, all the pictures, the way that the Egyptians depicted themselves, right? And now Moses would have been in the middle kingdom. The way that Egyptians depicted themselves was people of color. And the new kingdom is when you begin to see the Greeks invading Egypt and become sloppy with their work, right? And begin to take on the Egyptian customs because everybody wanted to be like the Egyptians. So this is what we begin to see. This is what we begin to notice. This is what we begin to understand. So in ancient times, it was harder to find, if any Egyptians and any European or any Caucasian people in the Tanakh. We married into what we call today, quote unquote, African tribes, right? For lack of a better word. We married Canaanites, we married Sidonians, we married all these people, Egyptians. We came out of Egypt a mixed multitude. They said Aaron and Miriam were angry with Moses because of the Cushite woman that he married, right? And it wasn't because she was a woman of color. It's because she was a woman of another nation, because they came out of Egypt a mixed multitude. So color wasn't it because they were people of color. Get my drift? They were people of color. So let me see. Says here, but where do we want to be sent to space? So those are the different the things that we see, and so when they begin to talk about they think or they believe that they're the children of Israel, we have more claim to be an Israelite than any European. That's straight up. We have more claim to be an Israelite than any European. We ran all into Africa. We ran all in there. Think about it. When the Greeks invaded, when the Syrians invaded, when all these people invaded, the Babylonians, people flee. You can look at world history today. When people go into war, when there's economic hardship, when there's any kind of thing, people didn't just sit still. You got people coming from Central America all the way to the U.S. border. You got people, refugees, all in different parts of the world when wars break out and stuff. People did the same thing. People did the same thing back then. Why you think we always kept running into Egypt anytime somebody invaded or we went into Egypt for help? Because we were accustomed of going into Egypt, and that's why the Most High God got upset. But how many times you think people went through Egypt and then they say, man, I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it moving, and they kept it moving. And that's how you get the Lemba. That's how you get different people who could prove. You get Beta Yisrael, right? Beta Yisrael, who are in Ethiopia, right? Who for centuries knew that they were the children of Israel. For centuries. So these are the things that we got to keep in mind. So we got to keep these things in mind, you know, and I hope that you got something out of tonight. I don't know. You know, I don't have all the answers. I just try to bring certain things to enlighten us, to try to keep us on top of certain things, and to make us understand, right, the different things that the Most High God got in store for us, and what we must follow, and to open up our eyes. You know, we have to study. We have to, you know, don't take my word for whatever I'm saying, and research and study and try to find ways. But like I said, it'll be more difficult to find a European in the Tanakh than to find Africans, people of color, and who we married into, right? The children of Israel married into. So you definitely know that there were people of color, people that have melanin, and, you know, living in those parts of the world during that time. It wasn't until European invasions and the mixing that people started to lighten up, you know. And that's just a fact. So I'm thankful for this night. Really no one has anything to say, so I'm thankful to the Creator. I see that we got 98 people on. Let me see. Let me just, what did I do here? All right, give me a second here. Let me give a shout out to all my peoples that's with us tonight, that's watching us. And that's always with us. This thing doesn't want to load now. Here we go. All right, let me start from the top. To all my people. No. I never said Cush was from Israel. I said that Beta Yisrael. Yeah, I'm taking calls. If you want to call in, you can make a call. Beta Yisrael, these are people that migrated. They also have a history. They said that they left Israel during the Babylonian invasion, and they have an oral history, and they also have books that they wrote. You understand what I'm saying? So those are not that the people from Cush are Israel, but the Ethiopians or the Beta Yisrael who went there in exile or fleeing away from the Babylonians. So when you speak to Beta Yisrael, or who they call the Falashas, they don't even have no history of. They don't have no book of Isaiah. They don't have any of that. All they have is the Torah. They have the history of the wilderness, and they wrote their own history also. So those are things that we have to. So those are things that we have to keep in mind, right? They ran down there. So those are things that, and I have a video with the cast from, he's called a cast from that community, from Beta Yisrael, right? The house of Yisrael. Yeah, people just like the Lemba migrated to South Africa, and when you look at the Lemba, they look like the people from South Africa, but they are who they are. So what's the number? Y'all should know that number by now. 347 622-9090. Y'all trying to keep me up all night. I see where this is going. Hold on. Y'all trying to keep me up all night. Let's see. Man, I didn't bring my headphones. Thought I had my headphones down here. So I know the phone calls is coming. Here we go. Texas. Shalom, shalom. Who am I speaking to?
This is Brother Andre from Dallas, Texas.
All right, how you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, brother. Great conversation on this Shabbat. I had a comment. I studied the Talmud, and there's tons of information in the Talmud about our scattering into the four corners of the world.
Right.
My job gives me the ability to travel abroad. And I was in this area of India called Kerala. This area is the only area of India that is Christian. And they are, our people there are there, literally. I walked, they speak a little different, but when they heard Shalom, they called on the Most High's name. Little differences, but the basics, staying away from shellfish, pork, and unclean animals, we're everywhere. And I wanted to ask a question about this DNA testing, because I've seen that article that you was talking about. My question is, what are these people comparing the Lemba tribe DNA to? You know, because if it's European, I don't understand that part right there. I'm going to get off the phone and listen to your input, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. All right, so here we go. So, what that article was from 1999, and what it explained was the genetics through the Y chromosome, and so forth and so on. I read another article later, and I have to find it. I forgot in what magazine it was in. It was in one of those science magazines, and it spoke about, it went into more detail about the Y chromosome, and it was more so in detail speaking about bones that they had dug up in the area, right? Graves and bones that they had dug up in the area. And then it almost completely eliminated the European from this account, right? Naturally, in the 1999 account, they're not gonna count themselves out, so they're gonna put themselves in the count. So when I read that article, I read it with a grain of salt, because I already understood that they don't want to be counted out, because DNA would eliminate them, right? And remember, 1999 DNA technology wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. I'm going to try to find that article from that magazine that was published even later. So the Lemba, they have a direct descent to the Kohanim line, right? And how they determine that is where they found these certain bones, and I have to find that article. So yeah, you know, initially they try to say that they were that they had compared the Y chromosome to those of certain European Jews that claim to be from the Kohanim, right? And it matched by this percentage or that percentage. But you got to understand, they can't lead themselves out of the story, right? So we got to, in 1999 to now, we got to take things little by little. They're not going to eliminate themselves completely out the picture. And those are things that we have to know. You're not going to get it all in one shot. You get what I'm saying? You're not going to get it all in one shot. And that's the kind of understanding we're going to have. But little by little, here and there, the truth is going to come out more and more to the point where the lie won't be able to be covered up anymore, right? So that's the way I look at that, all right? I hope that I was able to explain that to you. And then it's like I said to you also, and this is the difficult part that some of you guys are not going to be able to understand. Israel is going to come back looking different. So I'm just saying, you know, that's my opinion. When the Most High God calls us back, it's going to be like a speckled bird, a bouquet of flower with different shades, different hues, different hair textures. And that's how we're going to come back. But that's my opinion. I love what the Lemba man said to Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes. She was like, aren't you happy the Israelis acknowledge you? He was like, it makes no difference. We're Israelites regardless. Yeah, and one of the Lemba guys, you know, the reporter was trying to interview him, was like, something to the extent of what makes you believe that you are descendant? He was like, believe? He was like, I don't believe. I know this. Like, it's like they have no doubt in their mind. So they have their history. Some people are going to try to insert themselves in the history. And that if you're controlling the media and you're controlling everything, you have to see that. You know what I'm saying? You have to see that. But these things are going to come out little by little. And when we begin to match up things, we're going to begin to see. So, little by little. And if you're controlling the narrative, you're doing the reports, you're the one doing the DNA testing, what do you think? You think you're going to leave yourself out? Just think about it. So, okay, people. Here we go. It's about ready to call it a night. Shalom, Ima.
Well, you know I don't talk long. Praise the Most High Yah for the holy Shabbat day and for life for the whole house of Israel.
And thank you, Chief. You're doing a wonderful job. We ain't got everybody's not going to agree, but it's still good. It's good information. Right. Praise the Most High Yah. Well, I just want to give us a little bit of something to think about. Well, everything everybody is saying is valid. All the information is coming out. It's good. We have something to think about. But I like for us to think about this, too. Regardless of who's coming back, how many, what they're going to be looking like, and all the different nations that's going to be involved, people coming out of all the different nations, that's all good. Praise the Most High Yah. But we here in this country need to be focusing on us. We got a lot of stuff we need. People need help. We need to help our own people, uplift our own people, and not saying we can't be working with other folks, but we need to focus on each other. We have always had this thing where we want people to understand us and recognize us and everything, but we need to recognize ourselves. Right. And lift each other up and give each other that boost. And I think that's what our patriarchs and matriarchs here in this country was trying to do when they were more focused on us being Israel. And, you know, when you look around and you look at all the people that's over in Israel right now, the prophecy has not come true yet. So the Most High must be waiting on something. So, all right. So, and we're not over there, not really in force. We got a couple of little dots here and there, but that's it. But yeah, I would like to see us focus more on us. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. There's nothing wrong with caring about your own people. We're taught that that's a bad thing. We are very, not everybody, but I'm just saying in general, we get very apprehensive when it starts coming down to stuff like that because we're worried about what other people are thinking about us. But guess what? They're loving themselves and they're loving their own people, and we appreciate in seeing them do it. So I think it'd be a good thing for us to focus in on us. Hey, all y'all Negroes looking people out there, I said looking, don't get us attitude. Y'all Israelites, hey, we the Israelites.
Hallelujah.
That's us.
That's us. That's right.
Shalom.
Right. Shalom, Imam. Yeah, and it's important. Let me fix this thing up. I got to get a better microphone because this thing is going crazy. And it's important for us to know that we are the children of Israel. You know, it's what we were taught and what we understand and what we know. So it's a blessing. That's a blessing in itself. You know, and I encourage everybody to continue to study, continue to do things to enlighten yourself, continue to do things so that you could grow and not be stagnant, continue to do things so that your mind will open up and that you don't stay pigeonholed in certain understandings and things like that. Reading opens up your mind. And it used to be a song called or a commercial, if I could be wrong, about reading is fundamental. Reading opens up our minds, and it opens up our minds to different worlds, right? I love to read. I might not be like the book reader. I don't read like a lot of books, for the exception of the Tanakh. But I read a lot of articles. I do a lot of research. That's the kind of reading I like doing. I like cutting to the chase, you know, and that's the kind of reading. It's still reading. It's still information. It's still things that you need to do. So it's definitely, it's a must that we love ourselves, you know, and that we uplift ourselves and that we see ourselves in a manner, because if we love ourselves, if we love us, then what begins to happen is that you eliminate all the things that cause us to should be at odds with each other. So thank you, the Most High King, once again for life, food, clothing, and shelter, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Thank you all for joining us. I'd like to thank the Most High God for Shebrew servant, Nia Long, Imahavared, Basheba Yisrael, Tavel, Young, Govnak, Kawa, Basheba Yisrael, Imakaskwiya, Kilon Benyamin, Kava Wanza, Moradina Yisrael, Marsha Yisrael, T. Yahar Bondogia, Daffy J. I believe I also see, I don't see her up here, but I know she was on. Let me see. Daffy J. Y. Yehuda. Yemima Prescott. Nifla Yaakov. Kashum Levy. Soldier. Beautiful Forever. Andre Rayford. And Deborah Mack. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Thank you for joining us tonight. It was a good and interesting conversation. May the Most High God bless you. Don't forget to join us again